Dhiren is working as an article assistant into ACA advisors for the mergers and acquisition domain. And I also got to know, Dhiren, that you are into some public speaking and all in the ICI competition as well. Is that true?
I mean, it just happened, but yeah, I went to nationals for the extempo competition that was held by ICAI in Jan, and again for debate, I went to regionals, but I had prior commitments, so I couldn't go through with it. But yeah, so very funny story, right? I actually took a transfer to my current firm. I was previously working in direct taxes, and I did my articleship there for roughly 10 months. The only reason I wanted to get into tax was because my dad told me audit mein tu bore ho jayega, right? Like he told it to me, and I guess that was one reason I went into tax. And even in tax, the first 10 months I was at a different firm, right? Over there, I was more into compliance sort of work, filing ITRs, tax audits, litigation, and all of that. And somewhere I sort of realized that I wasn't really enjoying what I was doing, right? The exposure was brilliant, but it just wasn't scratching the itch in my brain. And so I distinctly remember it was 12 in the morning. I was contemplating life, like I'm sure we all do. Early mornings, good Arjit Singh playing. But yeah, and I was like, I don't want to do compliance. I don't want to do compliance. What should I do? What should I do? And I came across this website, ACA Advisors, and somewhere it was at the back of my head because my sister had initially worked in a firm whose partners started ACA Advisors. So I sort of knew about the firm. I went through the website. It looked very professional. I went through the offerings. I loved what I saw. And so at 12, I modified my resume. I just put it through and got called in for an interview the next day. And it is what it is. I've been here for about a year and a half now, and I've been loving every minute of it. So yeah, I would say even though this wasn't specifically what I had planned out, the 3 year that I would be doing M&A, but now that I am here, I genuinely love it because it's such varied work and the exposure is the cream on the crop. So yeah, that's pretty much how I got into M&A taxation and transaction advisory.
Okay, Dhiren. So, like, what kind of questions were you asked into the interview, or what can people expect in the typical M&A or transaction advisory interviews, and like, how should they prepare for those interviews?
All right. So the thing about mergers and acquisitions is that it is a niche, right? It's a part of direct taxes, but it is a very specific creamy part of it. So I'd say if you know about say section 56.210, or now, although now it is obsolete, but I remember during my time I was asked about section 56.7b, angel tax. Sections like say 72A, 79, all these specific sections, and also company law aspect to it, right? Like, say, section 42, section 62, private placement, further issue of capital, just stuff that is related to mergers and acquisitions, relevant stuff. And if not this cycle, but say your articleship interviews line up post the budget, it is very, very important to stay updated on current affairs and what is happening in the world right now. It is very crucial, right? I still remember the first time that I gave an interview, like for my first articleship, the budget had just rolled out, and it was the new taxation and all of that. There was some amendment regarding insurance companies and all of that, and I correlated that with Adani. I don't remember what I did, but I did something, and that genuinely set me at a league above my peers because no one really did that. Even if they were aware of the current affairs, they weren't aware how they could connect it with stuff that is relevant for you, right? So if you do something like that, just set yourself apart from the rest, I think you're set. You don't even have to make it too complicated. Just a fun little fact. Like, I don't know, anything. Just correlate it with stuff you want to do. And I would say that would impress anyone. And a lot of times, especially in today's day and age, if you go to big fours or like big six, interviews in these firms, a lot of times they're not even focused on technicals. I had a friend whose interview was basically 30 minutes non-stop talking about football. One or two technical questions put around here. So all things considered, I'd say if you are updated with what is happening in the industry you want to join in, I think that's the best way to prepare for an interview, along with, something related to the field you are looking at. If you're thinking about valuations, you cannot go in without knowing section, say, Rule 11 UA. I've done it pertaining to income tax. So, yeah, you cannot walk in completely blindsided, right? You will be blindsided by the questions if you do that. So, a little prep work, stay up to date with times, and I think you're golden. Yes.
Okay, now the most important question, like what does practical work actually involves there where you work, and what kind of work, if a person opts for M&A or M&A tax or a transaction advisory, what work our students can expect? Like a practical example of it.
Okay, I think one of the most practical examples I can tell you, like the name suggests, a merger. Right now, I am involved in a group merger of a group of companies. Obviously, I can't take the name because ND and all that. But yeah, so here we are hand holding the company through the entire merger process, and even the merger process, we don't just do the merger. We plan how the merger should be implemented. Should there be a demerger? Should there be a merger? Should two entities merge into one, or should A entity demerge into B and then merge into C? So that is one part of it. Then there's also cap table realignments. Right now, all we, especially the firm I am at, we work a lot with startups, and in startups one thing that constantly happens is realignment of the cap tables because they keep raising rounds and all of that. So we work with the companies to figure out the optimum proportion of the cap table. Sometimes we work from the investors point of view. Big funds invest in these companies, we solve problems for these funds. Or coming to transaction advisory, we determine how a transaction should particularly be structured for tax optimization or for optics perspective. So it's a very wide field, even though it's a niche, but this niche is so wide. I'll be honest, there is routine work involved in this, right? There will be days where you will want to rip your head apart because you're filling the same forms over and over again. You're doing secretarial work, you're preparing investor documentation. But there are days where you're giving advisory, where you're making a real impact. And that's just kind of how this field is. And if you are in this field, rest assured you will have a lot of practical work to do with FEMA, Company Law, Income Tax Act, and Stamp Duty Act. I never thought I would be doing stamp duty, but that is also involved. So there's a lot of things that come together to create this niche domain that is MA taxation and transaction advisory. Yes.
Nice. So, like, what kind of things you already mentioned regarding the preparation part and everything. Now, I would like to ask, like, what should be our, like, this is the question which was sent to us by one of the student. Like, what should be our main priority while finding an articleship? Because right now we are not aware about the work we have to do in other fields.
Absolutely. So I would say there's a list of things, right? But for me, at least, one of the top priorities was finding a conducive work environment. It becomes so important. Now, I will give the example of my own firm, right? In my firm, there's about 120 people, right? And barring the articles, there's about 90 chartered accountants in my firm, and everyone is so smart. I feel one of the best things you should look for in an articleship is you should be in a room where everyone is smarter than you. That is not a threat. Having access to people smarter than you, that is a blessing. That environment has become so conducive in my mind. There is no other option but to clear. In my mind, there is no other option but to perform, to exceed limitations. And that is very important, especially in your articleship, because a lot of people, they just think articleship is just articleship, but you got to think about it from the point of view of post qualification as well, because end of the day, you're in it for the money. I am very clear, I'm doing CA only because I want to make money. There's no other. Okay, sure, there's some people who like it because, oh, it's so stimulating. Nah, I'm doing it for the money. And if there's one thing I have learned, it is you got to give it your best, right? There's so much competition, and having a conducive work environment will make sure that you are always on your toes. There will be days where you will want to shoot your head off, but there will be days where you sleep like a baby because of a job well done, and that is because of a conducive work environment. Not just that, it's also important to have good supporting peers, because I have a friend, her boss told her this, right, and it stuck with me. I would rather be a bad CA than a very good article. What he meant to say is you can do the best work, but it's pointless if you're not a chartered accountant. End of the day, the prefix of CA is what really matters, right? So I have heard horror stories about bosses being assholes. Make sure you do not go to a firm like that. And always punch 10x above your weight. Punch above your weight. You think a big four is too big? Go there. Go there. Put in your resume there. Punch above your weight. You gotta be audacious, because this is the start of something very beautiful. You are moving on to the next phase, right? Now, till now you were just a student studying, but now you will be into the corporate scenario. So punch above your weight. Whatever you think you are capable of, punch above that, because who are you to limit yourself? That's all I would say. So punch above your weight. Look for a conducive work environment. Look for brilliant peers. Look for smart people. That's all I would say. And work that is stimulating, because if you're not enjoying the work you are doing, trust me, you will get bored of it very easily. And that's what happened. And I did take a transfer. So I'm very set on it. It needs to be something that you enjoy doing, something that you can foresee yourself doing, for 3 years. If not, take a transfer. Who's stopping you? There's nothing stopping you. But conducive work environment, smart people should be surrounding you all the time. Yes.
Yeah, that was good. And someone in the chat also mentioned like Dhiren is quite adamant why he's
No.
a great public speaker. Okay. So yeah, even I agree to the fact that you are a great public
Hey,
speaker
thank you.
indeed.
Yes.
Now I would like to ask, like one of the student also asked us, what should be the strategy, like if interviewer is asking you a question back to back, and you want to take a time and ponder over the question, but in the interview you know that if we like pause a bit, the interviewer will feel okay, this person doesn't know how to answer, or like, so how to handle that situations without getting fumbled.
Okay. So now there's two ways, okay? So see, it's a very real and a practical scenario that can happen with anyone at all. There's two ways to go about it. One is you owe up to it, right? So you gauge if, say, out of 10 questions, there's like, say, three questions that you weren't able to answer. It's very easy. Just own up and subsequently just reach out. Hey, this is actually the answer to the question, and I know it works because we were recently looking for an article, and this article, I promise you, he bombed. He bombed the technical interview, but what he did different from others who bombed the interview was he reached out subsequently and he actually answered those questions. He sent it to us, like literally a WhatsApp message. He answered the questions that he had previously missed out. And even though we weren't considering him previously, he got in another round. And the second round, he killed it. And he's an article at my firm now. But so that's what I'm saying. Own up to it. It is absolutely fine. And honestly, at this stage, they do not expect a lot from you. They know that you are students just entering the corporate world, just entering. You have just studied, right? So it is fine. A lot of times, I'd say about 8 out of 9 times, you will get interviewers that know that you're just entering, and they will be fine with that. But and at times exude confidence. The way you own the room is the game. I'll tell you, a very interesting experience, right? Initially, like I'd say 2.5 years ago, when I was in this zone and I was looking around for articleship firms, I got called in by Hira Gange, right? And we had the technical round, blah blah blah. And then I had the interview round with the partner. The partner hands me the book, hands me the Bear Act, GST Bear Act. I have not seen that. I have only seen the nice cleansed version that teachers give you. He hands me the Bear Act and he goes, "Ye dikha, ye show me this in the Bear Act." I started fumbling. I didn't know anything. I took like I think 7 minutes, and the partner straight up says, "ये क्या है? दूसरे लोगों ने ऐसे 7 मिनट में निकाल दिया." All of that, blah blah blah, and I was like shit bomb हो गया, but I was like sir मैं निकाल के देता हूँ ना, I will, because that was the tone of the interview, like he kept asking me questions in Hindi, so I was like okay, I gauged it and I went at Hindi, right? And that happened. I was like and so it just set the tone, right? And in the end he was like okay, I was like okay bomb interview gaya, but ठीक है. And then he goes like okay, so when do you want to join? I was like अरे this is one of the worst interviews, and he was like when do you want to join? So that's the thing. It's all about how you set the tone for the interview. And I would say there's nothing stopping you apply to as many places as you can. I am in the firm I am in, and I love it. I have, at least now, and my attempt is very close. But when I was when I was eligible for industrial training, even though I had no intention of leaving, I sent my resume to tens of opportunities. I gave interviews just for the sake of giving interviews, just to give those interviews. So you can do that. The only thing stopping you is you. So just give interviews, just give it. It's fine. You get a lay of the land. And I think that's how you approach interviews. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, Dhiren. So, like, I can definitely say that you have put a very cool and a Gen Z vibe in our session. So, yeah, it was like nice hearing to your different kind of slang that you used in the interview. It was good hearing to that. Okay, now that was a wrap from the questions from my end. If